Good evening. Good evening and welcome to the Farm to You Fundraiser. My name's Patrick Friesen, and I'm the new development coordinator here. And they are doing their best as a staff to welcome me, including scaring the living daylights out of me at times when I'm walking down the hall. But that's okay. I got Joanne back. And she actually was trying to scare somebody else and ended up getting me instead. But I had gotten her the day before as she was unlocking, and she came upon me just coming into the building, and it scared her pretty good. So all these things are doing really well, and we're starting to really get to know each other and how we work a little bit. This event was started before I came on, and so it is truly a team event that has come together. Every single one of the staff has been a part of this and helping the planning of this event, and including all the logistics for the people that are at home. And so we're pretty excited at the work that's been happening. So I've kind of inherited a lot of planning and preparation and work that happened beforehand, which is evidence of a good team and good team to be a part of. I am doing my best as well to know some of your names, because I know that for many of you, this place is partly home. It's an important part of this community, an important part of the story of not just the Mennonites, but of the community that surrounds us as well. There is something special during this time, and as we approach Thanksgiving, for us to remember and be thankful. And as this year has posed some challenges, no doubt, we still come with a heart of gratitude toward all that we've been able to do here at the museum, and how we've been able to kind of roll with some of the different challenges that we've had. You'll notice there's some books and some gifts, some flour and honey and stuff on your tables. Those are for you to take home. Also, depending on how much of the juice that's been provided, the drinks that have been provided by Sobeys, if you're wanting to take some home, if you loved it so much and there's some you want to take home, feel free to take that home as well with you. And we'd like to make sure that all gets used as well. So let's open with a word of grace, and then I think the food is ready to be served. Lord, we come to you with thanksgiving in our hearts. We come to you recognizing that you, as Creator, help to grow the very food that we eat. Not only that, we come to you with thankfulness for the many lives and the many people that are significant to us, and we're thankful for the way in which you have kept us. We pray for the many who are grieving during this time, those that are also struggling with sicknesses of all sorts of ways, and we pray for them and lift them to you. Lord, as we come, we want to give thanks for this food. Thank you for the many hands that have gone to preparing this, and the care that they've done in doing so, as well as those that are serving it to us. Would you bless them? Would you bless us in our conversations this evening? Amen. Enjoy.
Okay, we will start with the program. Kind of feels funny to say, but we are now live. We are live. And there's people, through that little camera and that computer in the back there that are joining us from their homes. We have about 30 people joining us by the live stream. So welcome everybody out there in your homes. Hope you enjoyed your food like we did ours. And this is how it is now with COVID-19. We have to kind of have a different kind of protocol. But I'm glad we were at least able to fit your 50 or so people here. And when I was going around, one of you, I won't say who, looking at the bottle, they said, "Oh, what percentage is it? Is it 12%? And I said, "How did you know? It is exactly 12%. And then that person was like, "Really?" And then I showed her the bottle. My staff had been looking at the bottle earlier, and sure enough, it's 12% fruit juice. So we got it. I hope you enjoy it. Mennonites have always been farmers. And I think we always will be farmers at heart. And I have a poem here I wrote recently. And I know we appreciate hearty food. We appreciate God, the Creator, who provides. And it's been a challenging year. But I want to honor the land we live on and those that have come before us and those who provide for us now, our food. The title of the poem is The Providers. Shaking rice. We'll go back. Sorry, Patrick. The first one. There you go. That's a canoe and rice. Shaking rice from the lake. Threshing wheat from the field. Picking berries from the forest. Vegetables from the yard. Not to be outdone by the bees, back and forth they tend tiny trees. All summer long there's a buzz. It's what a provider does. Then comes fall with its blankets deep, frost, clouds, snow from edges creep. All of the earth to rest and keep, while our plates its goodness heap. Here it lies, lake, field, forest, yard. That's called The Providers. So we want to give a little shout out, a thank you to all the sponsors and those that have provided for this meal today. Country Progi provided the Veronica, Farmer Sausages by Unger Meats, Organic Salad by Farmers Market, the raspberry infused olive oil dressing was by Prairie Oil and Vinegars. Sobeys provided the 12% Italian soda. And let's celebrate the centerpieces. And Swift bumped up our Wi-Fi connection, and Nature's Farm provided $500 just to cover the rest of the costs. So thank you, everyone. Now we'll just show you a little highlight video of a couple other community providers who are passionate about producing good food for our community. Oh. Can you hear me now? Yes. So I want to introduce to you our guest speaker today, Andrew Unger. Several years ago, Andrew Unger wanted to write a book. He had a brilliant idea about writing a satirical novel about life in a Mennonite community. The publisher said, "We don't know you, Mr. Unger. No one knows you." So he went home. He started a blog, and the Daily Bonnet was born. Thousands of people from Yonseed of the world to Ditseed had millions of laughs. We are all thankful, aren't we, that Andrew Unger was compelled to start a blog and wait on his book. But we are also thankful that he can now have his book too. Andrew, as Executive Director of the Mennonite Heritage Village, I want to confer on you a new title. Not Unger Butcher, we have enough of those. Bev, Ron, Carolyn, who knows. Not Unger Estate, we got those. But I want to confer on you Author Unger. Let's give a big applause to our very own author, Unger. Andrew, welcome.
I'll take it. I'll take it. I'm actually not actually using that mic, so I don't want to get too close or we'll, have a pandemic on our hands or something. Thanks for inviting me. The MHV is really special to my wife and I. We finally bought our lifetime memberships this year, so it's a really special place for us. Yeah, so I'm going to talk a little bit about how to turn on an iPad. Mennonites and technology, right? Yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit about the Daily Bonnet, and the biggest question that I get, the biggest question that people ask me is, where on earth do you come up with your ideas? I started it in 2016, and it's been more than 4 years when I've written one a day, sometimes more than one a day. For 4 years, it's like 1,800 articles or something. And if you'd asked me 6 months into it, would I run out of ideas? I would have thought maybe, I don't know. But Mennonites are such a great source of inspiration that so far I haven't run out of any ideas. So, this is one of the big questions that people ask me. Where on earth do you come up with your ideas? So I figured I'd give you a day in the life of a Mennonite satirist. I think that's a word. I hope so. So I decided I'd show you a little day in the life. I took a walk around town to get inspired, and it was a good thing. I still had my map of... Did you know that map exists? There's a City of Steinbach map. No Google Maps for me. I got my map of Ditseed, this side, and I decided to take a walk around Steinbach and look for inspiration. But first, however, I needed to power up a little bit, to start my journey in search of an idea. And this is one of the somewhat early Daily Bonnet articles. Local man faces blasphemy charges after putting ketchup on pierogies. I don't know. I saw there were no ketchup provided here today. Does anyone point to your neighbor if you saw them put ketchup on their pierogies? Because we need to shame that person. Local man faces blasphemy charges after putting ketchup on pierogies. Now, I know you don't have to tell me. There are no plets in Waterloo, Ontario. They're all in Landmark. But this is an early on in the Daily Bonnet, and my geography was way off. I was just like, oh, there's Mennonites in southern Ontario, but I've perfected that a little bit over the years, and I know, the plets are in Landmark, the Penners are in Blumenort, although there's some plets there too, etc. So never mind the Waterloo, Ontario thing. Just replace that and put Steinbach there. Also, if I say a name and it's your name, that's just a coincidence. The names are just made up, but it could be your name. I don't know. Retired bricklayer Barney Platt of Waterloo, scratch that, was arraigned on a wide variety of charges, including espionage, defacing public property, and attempted murder, after photographic evidence suggested he lathered his cottage cheese Verenica in a thick layer of ketchup this past Friday. Prosecutors have also applied a little-known archaic blasphemy law that's been on the books since the mid-1800s. In all my years, I've never seen such a disgusting defilement of our beloved Mennonite-style pierogies, said Constable Duick. You can fry them, you can add onions, you can use I experienced this once. Sour cream-based gravy, have you ever had that on a pierogies? Yeah, you've had that? That's okay. Or schmonfat, but under no circumstances will we tolerate the usage of ketchup. If convicted, Platt could face up to 20 years in prison. Back in '86, Mr. Friesen was arrested for putting spray can whipped topping on his heart-shaped waffles. Explained Duick. He's still behind bars. Local press have already dubbed Platt the Vranicha violator. A published photograph of the ketchup-laden Vranicha were on the front page of the local paper caused 3 women to faint at a local coffee shop. I'll feel a lot safer when that man is behind bars, said local woman Edna Kleinsaucer. I've lost a lot of sleep over those defiled pierogies. They should lock him up and throw away the key. So hopefully none of you violated that law tonight. Well, so this is a day in the life of a satirist in search of an idea. After I had my breakfast pierogies, I realized that doesn't make any sense. Never mind. And my appetite satiated, I rubbed my I ate Vranicha button for good luck and embarked on my journey. I don't know if you can see that very clearly, but this is a real button. It says, I ate Vranicha at Mennonite Village Museum. That's the old name, Mennonite Village Museum, Steinbach, Manitoba. I think my wife found that at MCC and figured I should wear it around. But do any of you have that button? Or does anyone know when that was given out? Okay. Well, a while ago. So, of course, the best place to look for Mennonite satire ideas is right here at the museum. In fact, and this is true, the very first Daily Bonnet article was inspired by the museum in some way, or the Steinbach City Council, or a combination of the two, however you want to look at it. This was one I wrote in May 2016. It said, Steinbach City Council approves plan to move the entire population to the Mennonite Heritage Village. We still haven't moved here, yet. That was the first one I wrote, and actually it's kind of like one of these situations where I wrote it on my own blog, and then normally I wrote something and 50 people would read it, not very many, and then all of a sudden thousands of people read this, and I'm like, oh, okay. So then I started the Daily Bonnet after that. This article kind of inspired that, starting the website. Here's another one inspired by the museum, sort of. Totally normal Steinbach bungalow to be preserved at a local museum. Completely normal 900 square foot bungalow built in 1978 has been given a historic designation and will be moved to the local village museum. You know, that's a joke, of course, but in some ways, if you think about it, you know, if you don't think of 1970s bungalows as potentially historic, then they'll all be just demolished, and we'll have no way of knowing how people lived in the 70s, you know. So, you know, put it on the list of potential buildings for preservation. So, after finding a few ideas at the museum, I decided to go downtown, took a walk downtown, and of course the thrift store is always a good place to look for ideas. We have a few ideas inspired, more than just a few ideas inspired by the MCC. Mennonite woman mistakes MLCC for MCC. That was quite embarrassing. And the one on the bottom there, area woman buys out entire MCC store for $200. I think my wife does that every Saturday morning. That just clears them out. And then this one, the one on the top right there, was actually a COVID-inspired one when the MCC store was reopening. Then Mennonites flocked to reopened MCC store to buy bigger pants because we all probably ate a lot of Vranicha with ketchup during those months of lockdown. Well, so I continued my journey in search of an idea. And across the street, I noticed a church. Well, it's Steinbach, of course. There's a lot of churches, but I figured a church lobby is always a good place to look for ideas, don't you think? Mennonite couple come late to church and have to settle for the front row. That's the worst. That's the worst. I'll read you this. This is news from Saskatoon, but It could be just as well in Steinbach. The Dreegers of Saskatoon had a pretty hectic morning this Sunday when the toaster didn't work. The hot water tank blew up, and they just had to squeeze in a quick metaslope right before church. Needless to say, the couple was an embarrassing 15 minutes late for church and had to settle for one of the first 3 rows. Oh, but they're already singing. Where on earth are we going to sit, said Mrs. Dreger, still composing herself after a particularly vigorous metaslope. All the seats are taken. Oh, but they weren't all taken. In what has been described as the greatest travesty in Saskatoon Mennonite history, the Dreegers found that the only empty pews were right in the front. No one likes to be too close to the pastor, said Mr. Dreger. He tends to spit when he talks. I'm a pastor's son, by the way, so if I go over my time limit here, you'll let me know, because that's a thing I inherited probably from my father. Anyways, still, the Dreegers had no other choice and reluctantly plopped themselves down somewhere near the front, much to the horror of the rest of the congregation. I wish them all the best way up there in the front, said Mrs. Petcow in row 17. Good luck and God bless. The Dreegers managed to survive the entire service up there in the front, but the experience was so unpleasant that they vowed to be extra early next Sunday. Or else we'll just wedge ourselves next to the Unger family, said Mrs. Dreger. They always have room. You have to throw in some self-deprecating humor in there. This is my Unger family. I'm sure the other Ungers are very desirable to sit next to, but, you know. The Dreegers have also considered bribing one of the ushers, although the ethics of this has not yet been studied in the adult Sunday school class, so you never know. But, you know, but the church, you know, there's more ideas you can get from church. Like, have you ever seen these mysterious formations on the church parking lot? I don't know if you can see that. Have you seen these things? I don't know what's with that. It's especially a problem in Steinbach, I think. Or did you hear about the church with 250 members that split into 250 churches? Yeah. But even after they split into individual churches, there was still division after that, you know. Kept changing his mind on theology every day. Epic fail, M. Beer and G. Sear make feeble attempt at singing the doxology together. Praise God from whom all blessings flow. If you have the Mennonite church people and the M. Beers or the E. M. Sears or pretty much anyone else trying to sing that together with a general conference person, it's a disaster. I didn't even know this because I grew up in Steinbach, right? And I mostly grew up in EMC churches and EMB churches. And I didn't know that the Mennonite Church Canada had their own version of this song with completely different melody. It's just the first time I heard it, I was like, "What is this song? That's not the right melody. It's way off." And apparently they call it Hymn 606. This is something I discovered after writing the Daily Bonnet. They're like, "Oh, Hymn 606." All these Mennonite Church Canada people were like, "Hymn 606." I'm like, "What's Hymn 606?" They're like, "It's Praise God from whom all blessings flow." And I'm like, "Okay, but it isn't the right version of that, you know." Anyways, that doesn't go over so well. Anyways, so I kept going on my journey, but it was a Monday. Not a single church was even having an evening service, so I just had to keep going, keep walking. Whoops. Oh, now I've gone too far. I discovered that Steinbach has many shopping options. We have a 10,000 villages and also a vape shop right next door to each other. I hear the variety of flavors are endless there. Rhubarb flavored. I posted this article and someone's like, "That really exists." I'm like, wow, okay. I mean, I'm not up on all the vape flavors, but apparently the rhubarb vaping really exists. That's bad, I know. We don't want to encourage Mennonites to get into that, but, you know. And also downtown, you know, I noticed the local petting zoo is pretty great. Said, families in southeast Manitoba were waking up early this morning trying to be first in line. The kids are all ready to go. They were disappointed, though. The giant tiger was not there. Ultimately, though, I returned home, where all the best ideas, I think, are found, leaning on a crokinole board or something. Um, in all seriousness, well, it's not that serious, but people ask me when they see me around town or if someone recognizes me or something, they always get a little bit nervous, like I'm trying to find ideas. Like they don't, they're like, oh, we shouldn't say too much to that guy because he's going to write about us or something. Or if I go to events here at the museum or any other kind of like Mennonite-ish thing, people are thinking that I'm looking for ideas, and I'm honestly not. Trust me, I'm not. I just observe things, that's all. But I'm not hunting for ideas, not really. And I honestly, half the time I'm writing about myself. So here's a few. The Friesen wedding is well attended by local Friesens. It's a good one. Or descendants, did you hear about this? There was a massive gathering back in 2016. The descendants of all the Penner Foods romances gathered in Steinbach, and there was over 100, did you know that all the romances established at Penner Foods during the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s have resulted in over 100,000 children? Can you believe it? It was quite the gathering, not a COVID-friendly gathering at all. So maybe we'll have to wait a while to have the next descendants of Penner Foods employees gathering. Or, I don't know if any of you have one of these in your back window, but this is required now. Have you heard about this? Steinbach residents required to display Steinbach driver's sign in back windshield. Do you have that in your? Okay, because it's a requirement now. I've heard. I think it sounds like you have not heard of this sign. Like you're all gonna get a ticket later on today, so I better read this. Under a new local graduated licensing program, Steinbach drivers will now be required to display a sign in the back windshield of their vehicles as a warning to the other drivers. Local officials say the program will improve safety and reduce instances of road rage. Why isn't that vehicle establishing himself in the intersection? Why is that minivan clogging up all the traffic in the left lane? The left lane between Steinbach and Blumenort especially. Why is that pickup truck driving 20 in a 50 zone? Said Steinbach's safety officer. This sign will help answer those questions and alleviate some frustrations when people see it and realize, oh, hey, it's a Steinbach driver out there. Go easy on them. Steinbachers, the honest thing, my honest pet peeve about Steinbach drivers is not any of these people that I'm describing here. This is all fine. Going slow, going in the left lane, pales in comparison, I shouldn't say this, to the cruisers on Main Street making a racket all evening. Anyways, Steinbachers will be required to have a competent driver who knows what they're doing in the front passenger seat at all times. Whenever Martha or Abe want to take their 95 Oldsmobile out for a spin, one of them is going to have to sit in the back while your designated non-Steinbach driver accompanies you in the passenger seat. Steinbach drivers will also not be allowed to have passengers in their vehicle after 8 at night. Local officials are really not too worried about night driving, however. Most Steinbachers are in bed by just after 7. Oh, what time is it now? It's past the bedtime here. The new signs will be in the mail this week, so I expect to see them prominently displayed in Steinbach vehicles this fall. By the end of the year, we're hoping that the new program will improve the driving skills of Steinbacher to such a degree that they're only as bad as Winkler drivers. The Steinbach driver's signs are already popping up on vehicles across the city, but are more noticeable just after church on Sunday afternoons. And, but the honest thing about that is that every town thinks that they have the worst drivers. You go anywhere and they think this particular town has the worst drivers. I don't actually think Steinbach drivers are any worse than any other place. They're all pretty bad. And have you heard they've identified the woman behind the pistachio pudding shortage, which is always a problem around Thanksgiving time. I'm not sure. She may be here. So just, look down and pretend not to notice. Like if you make eye contact, I think you'll be identified. This was happening in Steinbach. Every Thanksgiving, thousands of Mennonites find themselves without the necessary means to make the traditional pistachio salad from the EMMMC, how many is it? Ladies Cookbook, because the store runs out of Jell-O pistachio instant pudding mix weeks before the big day. The pudding shortage has baffled Mennonites for decades, but the mystery has now been solved as, and I'm going to identify this name, but don't be offended if it's you, because I don't know all your names, so it could be. As Tina B. Jansen has turned herself into authorities and confessed to hoarding the prized ingredient. Every year in the middle of September, I go to all the grocery stores and buy up all the pistachio pudding mix, said Jansen. I know it's wrong, but I just want to be the most popular one at the church potluck. I got used to all the attention from being the only one with the Watergate salad. Jansen says she sometimes would use the little green boxes to barter with other church ladies, often asking for 5 to 10 times in its retail value in trade. I let a few boxes out of my possession, but you really have to make it worth my while, said Jansen. I'm not going to just give it away. Jansen says she took great pleasure. She always took great. What am I reading? Say it. I must have messed this up here. She takes great pleasure in seeing all the mandarin orange and cottage cheese salads, knowing full well that this was their second, if not third, choice of the fellow church ladies. No one wants to be the woman with the inferior fruit-based salad, said Jansen, who confessed to the crime after a particularly moving sermon last Sunday. But I realized it just wasn't right for me to hoard the pudding mix like this. I'm truly sorry. Upon hearing that Mrs. Jansen would no longer be buying up all the pistachio instant pudding mix in the region, rival potlucker, Mrs. Edna Lowen, seized the opportunity and bought 15 full cases of the stuff. Look out, world, said Lowen. There's a new pistachio salad queen in town. Yeah, so that is, you'll notice, if you go after this and try to find pistachio pudding mix, I'm sure it's already all gone. I don't know, that's nothing to do with Mennonites. What does pistachio salad have to do with Mennonites? I have no idea, but try to find it. Just trust me, it's popular here. Some of you will know what I'm talking about. So, as I said, I don't really travel all around looking for ideas. I'm never deliberately looking for ideas. They just sort of appear in different places. And I did write a book, so maybe I'll read a little bit from that. It's available here at the Mennonite Heritage Village. The novel, it's fiction. It's about, one of the things that from writing the Daily Bonnet, it seems, some people, take it as you're kind of like, I wouldn't take it as mocking. I see it as like a celebration of Mennonite things. But, from writing the Daily Bonnet, I've really become more interested in Mennonite history and my family's history and the history of this region and so on. I always had a little bit of an interest in that, but even more so in the last few years after, since writing the Daily Bonnet. And so I wrote this book about, it's fiction, and it's about a small town where they're destroying all their history, they're destroying all the historic buildings, and there's a preservation society intending to try to preserve them. It's a comedy. That doesn't sound like a comedy, but it is. And the main character works as a ghostwriter, writing people's books for them, like the Reimer book and the Penner book and the Friesen book, those sort of books. He's writing those kind of books. So I'll read you a little bit from one of his, just read you a short little bit here about his meeting with one of his ghostwriting clients. I'm a ghostwriter, or trying to be anyways. This means I write books for other people. So does Randall, that's his friend. We're guns for hire, so to speak, though around here gun analogies are generally frowned upon. As much as I prefer to spend my day preserving the memories of Edenfeld's senior citizens rather than demolishing heritage buildings to create space for yet another strip mall, I simply can't afford that luxury. I have a mortgage to pay and a wife who's finishing her master's in contemporary philosophy, and there isn't enough ghostwriting to work to keep both Randall and me employed full-time. Not yet, Katie always says. That's his wife. Mr. Harder is into trees, too. There's one right outside the manor where he lives that is said to be a descendant of the great oak of Kortitsa. Maybe sounds familiar. It was planted by Edenfeld's pioneers using seeds they brought from the old country. Sometimes when the weather is nice, we sit on the porch swing at the manor, and he never fails to point it out and say, "That tree over there, Timothy, is Frinshoff of the famous great oak." He asked me to dedicate an entire chapter to the great oak of Khortytsa. I felt it was a bit much for only one tree, but he insisted. He traveled to Russia and Ukraine in the 90s on one of those Mennonite history tours where he took dozens of photos of the famous great oak, including at least a couple that weren't completely out of focus. He wants to include about 30 pages worth in his book. It'll be the most comprehensive visual documentation of the great oak ever put into print, he boasted. I assured him that even at 1 or 2 pages, he'd still have the record. When I went there, said Mr. Harder, there weren't more than a handful of branches that still had green leaves on them. He showed me a snapshot that confirmed his assessment. It looks dead, I observed. Oh, it's not dead, he assured me, just dying. I told him his prospects were about as good as any of the trees here in Edenfeld. He laughs, he gets me. I guess that's why he hired me to write his latest book for him. It's tentatively titled The Harder Path, Problems and How We Overcame Them, From Malachna to Southern Manitoba by Dietrich F. Harder. The book is the third in a series after Working Hard and Praying Harder, Life on the Farm, and a slim volume that documents his father's declining years called You Know, Quite Frankly, It's Never Been Harder. Thank you.
Thank you, author Unger. That was great. It's good to have some good laughs. And I just want to give you a little review of how it's been. I'm the executive director of the Mennonite Heritage Village, Gary Dick. I don't think I've seen my name yet. I know there's all kinds of Dicks in the Daily Bonnet, but maybe there is a Gary Dick. Wouldn't be surprised. There's one next door to me. February 9th was my 1-year anniversary here at the museum, coming on board, and it was wonderful. And I said, okay, every month is so different here at the museum, especially for my job. And so February 9th came. I was like, oh, now I know what's next. Now I know every month what to expect. March 19th, we closed our doors for 8 weeks. And returned rental refunds and had to figure out how to reopen when the time comes and what do we do with our summer. It was a very interesting experience. And instead of big events like Canada Day and Pioneer Days, we had smaller mini Pioneer Days, like demonstration days every other Saturday. And you know what? The volunteers and the guests that came, they said, this was good. They really enjoyed it. It was a little more intimate, a little more meaningful even, and everyone that did come enjoyed it. And there were a lot of good conversations, and I think a lot of people that came here found refreshment, which is also one of the reasons we're here. Then early September, we had the privilege of hiring Patrick Friesen, who you've already met and saw here, and we've had quite a run today, even trying to get everything going with the tech, but he's very savvy with tech, and he's also very good at relationships, so we're very fortunate to have him as our development coordinator. And something new else that we're doing now is called Kickstarter, especially for those at home. If you want, you can go, search online, Kickstarter, Mennonite. And the first thing you'll see is a project that's from a year ago. It was fully funded. It's called the Mennonite Card Game, the Mennonite Game. And it's all about asking questions, and there's cards, and it more than made the money it needed to kickstart it. But the next thing you'll see on there is the Dirk Willems Peace Garden. And that's the latest project here at the Mennonite Heritage Village. We have a beautiful sculpture close to the pond of Dirk Willems, the one who saved his jailer, his captor, who was chasing after him, but fell through the ice when doing that, and he turned back. And if you look closely at the sculpture, it's just amazing how he captured the solemnness of his compassion, his Christ-like compassion. And what we want to do next is build a pergola. The foundation is already there, but to build that pergola and put on some more panels and then develop a peace garden in that area We have a piece of the Berlin Wall nearby, the beautiful pond, and it's wonderful to see that part of the museum grounds to get developed. But we need about $20,000 at least, and so if go home, check Kickstarter Mennonite, you'll find us. $5, whatever, tell your friends, recommend it highly, and let's see if we can make, all together, make it go easily over that $20,000. Now, we'll just have a little thank you video from the staff here at the Mennonite Heritage Village.
Happy Thanksgiving. We enter into a season when we are prompted by a date on a calendar to give thanks. That can sometimes feel disingenuous, but I think it's a discipline that helps us. It helps us to be grateful despite our circumstances. As a staff, we want to share with you some of the things that we're thankful for, and I want to begin. I'm thankful for my Mennonite heritage, for one that has helped to shape my principles, my values, and quite frankly, recently, the decisions that I've made as to where I work. I'm grateful to work here. In a place, especially this time of year, when I look around me and see the beauty, it just blows me away. But it's more than just the rustic old buildings, artifacts, the stories that are told. It's a life of peace that helps to frame everything. And I'm grateful to be able to do that, to be in a place that promotes that. And I'm looking forward to learning a whole lot more and being able to support this place as we go forward. I'm also thankful for some of the little things. I'm thankful for a summer where I got to bike over 1,000 kilometers. Yeah, hard to tell, but I enjoyed it. I'm thankful for a beautiful family, one that supports me, one that gives me joy, and that cares deeply about each other.
You know, 2020 has been a really challenging time and I think rough time for some people, but for me, one of the things I'm really grateful for, my husband and I got married at the end of June in the Lichtenau Church here at the museum, so that by far is the highlight of the year for me. But when I was asked what I was thankful for in the work setting here, I remember being in the gallery. We were setting this exhibit up in the middle of our closure. We were closed from March 19th to May 13th, and I was working here alone at the museum, and it felt pretty bleak. And then suddenly when we opened our doors back up and the first people I heard behind me in the hallway, the first guests who were coming in the museum, I was working here by myself and I just thought, wow, there are people here again. I don't think I've ever been, I'm gonna choke up, but I don't think I've ever been more grateful to have our community join us here at the museum again.
I'm thankful that I graduated from university and I was able to start at my new job here so quickly, and it's how good it's been.
I guess what I would have to be thankful for this year, I mean, with it being an extremely weird year with COVID-19, is I'm thankful for God, I'm thankful for my faith, my family, my friends, my co-workers, and my employees. But most of all, I'm thankful for the guests that come to Mennonite Heritage Village, because without you guys, we wouldn't be able to do this year. I wouldn't be selling any food without you, so I'm very, very thankful to have you. Thank you.
I'm thankful for many things. I'm especially thankful for a caring community. Whether our community is our family, whether it's our neighborhood, whether it's our church or community organization, or whether it's our town, caring is something that everyone sees around us. And we notice this when people are struggling. We notice it when people have financial difficulties or when they have health issues or when they have other circumstances that are difficult or difficult relationships, we see people helping each other, and that's something I'm very thankful for. We also celebrate together, and those are the times where thankfulness for community is demonstrated in many ways. It's wonderful, it's caring, and I'm really grateful for the caring community we have in Canada.
Hi, I'm thankful for the incredible group of co-workers that I get an opportunity to work with every single day. And I'm also thankful for each new day because God's mercies are new every morning. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mita, also known as Sush. I am grateful for many things, but one of them, my biggest joys, is my new grandson. He's almost 2, and he's the cutest grandbaby ever, and I have pictures to prove it.
I am thankful that not only does God give us our needs, but He also gives us grace to enjoy things as well.
I'm thankful for our heritage, our country, our community, and for you.
So what are you thankful for? I invite you to think of maybe some of the big moments that have happened over the year, or maybe you want to forget those. Maybe you want to focus on the little things that bring joy. The little things that we can be grateful for day in, day out. May you experience a happy Thanksgiving.
Test. All right, we got the mic, and now we'll get the lights. Thank you, Patrick. That was a wonderful video. And I just want to close now saying October 31st. Yes, October 31st, we have Christmas at the Village. It'll be all right here in the auditorium, all kinds of sellers, and also wagon rides and hot chocolate and other things on the grounds. That's October 31st. And we also have a little art gallery right now in the hall right here from the Southeast Arts Group. Kind of nice fall motif of paintings. So you can feel free to look at that. There's about 10 or 12 along the hall there. And you can buy Andrew's book at the bookshop right now if you want. They're all signed and ready to go. And there's also envelopes on the table if you feel like making a donation, or at the front desk. And don't forget about looking up Mennonite Kickstarter and enjoying. There's a bunch of information there. Anyways, thank you. It's October already. Thanksgiving is coming. I'm not sure how you're going to celebrate it this year, but may you be thankful and let those feelings of gratitude do their good work in you and through you. And thank you for coming. Hope you have a good night. Make sure you take your honey, take your flour, whatever you want, except the flowers in the middle of the table, the flour bags, not the flowers in the middle of the table. Take it home, enjoy, and those books are yours too. Thank you.